Welcome back to I Ain't Got a Talent podcast, where we talk about gifts and talents. Today, I have with me Jamie DeVoe. Please show him some love.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. So, you ready? Let's get into it.
Yeah.
All right. So, my first question for you is, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, it went from the traditional kid stuff like fireman, police officer, that kind of thing. And I was born in a musical family, so eventually I wanted to be a musician, or for some reason went through a phase where I wanted to be like an athletic trainer or a physical therapist or something. But I didn't like science class, and that's a lot of science. There's a lot of science in that field, so
right.
I just stuck to music. Got into music, stayed with it, and fell into the education side of it. I wasn't sure for a while if I wanted to be a performer or a teacher, and figured it out through college and student teaching, and turned into a band director.
Wow. So would you say that's your gift? What's your gift or talent?
Probably my gift would probably be playing music and playing instruments. I started learning piano when I was 7. Wow. And I started on trumpet when I was 10, and I switched to French horn when I was 11, and then I pretty much played both French horn and trumpet and piano through school. College, when you turn into a music major, you got to focus on one if you want to be a performer. So I focused on French horn and orchestral type stuff, and was successful with that. But also, throughout college, learned the rest of the instruments for the education part, in case that was the route that I chose.
Wow. So, how many instruments do you play, or do you know how to play?
It kind of depends on how well I can play. I can play piano, French horn, trumpet, and bass professionally. I can also play trombone, baritone, tuba. I can teach all those from my classes. I'm not good at flute, but I can teach the flute. Same with the clarinet and saxophone. You just wouldn't want to pay me. You just wouldn't want to pay me to play, but I can demonstrate it like at a 9th or 10th grade level for my kids, and then they take off, and you give them tools, and it's more of a knowledge thing than a demonstration thing after a while.
Wow, that's some talent right there.
I hope so.
Yeah. So when did you realize that you wanted to get into music? How old were you, or about what time, or about what age?
Well, my family still is very musical. My dad was a band director also, so I grew up going to concerts. I really didn't think about doing it as a career until probably beginning or middle of high school.
Okay.
That middle school phase where I was in band and I was doing music and I was good at it, but I was bound and determined not to be like my dad, because that's what all middle schoolers do. and then I'm like, well, my dad's a good dude, so maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Right. Wow. So you said about middle school is when you started taking it more serious. Like, okay, this is something I think I might want to do.
Yep, and I had piano lessons at 7, and then I started French horn lessons with Kevin Warren in the Grand Rapids Symphony, and when I was in 6th grade. So I started practicing and learning from him on a one-on-one basis starting in 6th grade.
Wow. So you named all these instruments. Do you have a favorite?
The French horn and piano are my favorites. Bass was probably like a second, kind of like a 2A.
Yeah.
The French horn is the one that I wanted to play professionally. I still do on the side on occasion. I'll play in Civic Theater, playing in the Vintage Parlor Orchestra in a couple weeks at Creston Brewery. It's good. So that's it's my best one. I like piano because I don't get I think for a musician to say, but I don't get as many gigs with it, so it seems more like for fun and recreation than for work. And same thing with bass. I do bass a lot in church, and I really enjoy that, but I don't. It's more of a fun thing. Whereas sometimes sometimes, you know, it is my job, and well, most of it is fun work. Some of it is work. So I like some of those instruments so that it's just fun work, or just for fun, instead of feeling like I'm still at school or still at work.
Right. Wow. So, middle school, you say, okay, I think I might want to do this, or you're taking it more seriously. What was the next steps for you?
So in middle school, I started doing, you know, solo events where you could play for it's called solo and ensemble. It's a popular event for individual and small groups to get feedback from other professionals. This is like where my students would go for saxophone specific help when my main instrument isn't saxophone. So I did that and played for other professional horn players and got some good feedback, and then I did that and got high ratings on those. And then when high school rolled around, they have either honor bands or all-star bands, depending on what they're called. And I got into some of those, and kind of the bigger moment was I got into the one at Grand Valley State University, and the guest conductor was a composer, and I forgot the composer. It's kind of embarrassing because he's a big deal, and but he was the guest conductor, and we played one of his pieces, and I was the top person in there, so I got to play the horn solo. And he stopped and he like, you know, that's exactly how I pictured the sounding when I wrote it. And I thought that was that it doesn't get much higher of a compliment than that from the guy that wrote it. So like I'd already been working towards it, and I was thinking, I'm like, I'm probably gonna do this, and then you get something like that, I'm like, I might actually be able to do it. It was a kind of like the last push I needed to just kind of, I don't want to say give up on being an athletic trainer, but when you get a C in biology and a C in chemistry, you don't want that person working on your knee.
Make you think a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So then what? So high school. Then what about after high school?
High school, your senior year, you have to audition to get into the school of music if you want to be a music major in college. So I auditioned at Grand Valley, Central Michigan, and U of M, and I got into Grand Valley and Central. I missed out on U of M the first time around. It's a really competitive school. You can imagine. I got scholarships at both Central and Grand Valley, but I chose to go to Central Michigan. I spent 5 years there. Chippewas, yep.
Okay.
And had some great experiences there. Our horn studio, I got to play at some national and international events, so I got to play and learn from famous for the horn world people. They're not famous to, not everybody has their favorite French horn player, but I do.
Yeah.
But we got to play for
who is that?
My favorite French horn player would be Dennis Brain. He's actually passed away. He's an older one.
Oh, okay.
But he kind of made the instrument. He had less of a background instrument and brought it to the forefront to be featured in the orchestra a little bit more. And he was great. He died really young, which is unfortunate, but the good ones often do.
Man. Okay. Then during college, how was that experience?
It was great. We got to play. Played in international horn symposiums, which is a really nerdy thing, but something that you love, and all these horn players together get to learn, hear great things, play for some people. I played in some excerpt competitions, which is kind of like a practice audition for a symphony, which was really valuable experience. I did well. I did not win. I was never the best horn player in the nation, which is hard to do, but still fun to play and just be around those great players. Got to listen to and learn from the horn player from the Canadian Brass, which is one of the most famous brass quintets in the world. And not only did he help me a little bit, I ran into him later, and he remembered me and he remembered my playing. So that's all I needed. That's all I needed to know that something that has succeeded, because I look up to that guy. I had his albums, and he still is a great player.
Yeah.
And a couple other experiences. I did get to audition to play in a music festival in Ireland when I was 21. So I got to spend a summer up there playing over on that side of the pond, played in a full symphony, some really good lit and you got to play it in the cathedrals and hang out and rehearse at the Royal Irish Academy of Music, and experience double. We'd practice for a couple hours during the day. We had a couple concerts, but when you didn't have concerts, you had the rest of the time to explore Ireland, and it was a big perk of winning that particular audition.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Ireland. That's amazing. Was that senior year or something?
Yeah, it was my I think it's somewhere between my junior and my first senior year of college. It took 5 years to finish undergrad, but
Okay.
but student teaching was half of it, and I was taking the scenic route through Mount Pleasant.
Okay, yeah. And so after college, where did you go after that as far as music? What did you do after that?
Music, after I finished student teaching, I decided I wanted to teach instead of perform, or teach primarily and perform secondarily. So my first teaching job was in a really small town called Morenci, Michigan. I lived in Adrian, Michigan. It's right on the Michigan-Ohio border.
Okay.
And I was a young teacher in a small town, but they were, the kids were great, and the town was, it had that small town feel where they just, everybody knew everybody, and they appreciated when the band started getting bigger and better. They were supportive and appreciative. And since I lived in Adrian, that's about 45 minutes away from Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. Mm-hmm. So there's a symphony, adult symphony called the Ypsilanti Symphony Orchestra. So I played in that, and it's not exactly a professional symphony, but it's a really good quality, and they run themselves like a professional symphony, and it was a really good experience. And it got me to play, and it helped me get gigs playing in other like community, what are they called? Community theaters and like musicals. Kind of like we have Civic Theater here in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
I played in a lot of stuff like that. I played at the University of Toledo a couple times down that side of the border, and then eventually did my master's at U of M while I was teaching and going, because I was 45 minutes away from there, so I was already up there and got a master's degree while I was doing my first couple of years of teaching.
Wow. So, when you were in college or at any point pursuing your, music career and being a teacher, did you ever run into any challenges?
Yeah, it was pretty early too, because like I said, my dad was a band director too. I was very close with him. When I was 19, like the first weekend of my sophomore year of college, he died. He was really, really inspirational and he got all the connections and helped me get to, he got me the lessons. He helped me set up with instruments. College is your first time on your own for a lot of people anyways. And then being a little extra alone when you don't have that guy on the other end. So that was a big one. And actually, the same time he had cancer, my mom also had cancer. She had breast cancer. She survived. My dad did not. But it was the end of freshman year through the sophomore year of college was a major hurdle.
Oh wow!
Because I almost failed. Music history was one of the classes that I was taking, and I didn't focus on. CMU had a policy: you can't get a C or a C plus or something like that in any of your major classes to graduate. And I was sitting at a C minus for a while, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. I don't want to take this class over again because I just didn't. So I pulled my head out of wherever it was and figured it out. But I still don't remember a whole lot. That whole semester and mostly that year was a blur. So a lot of the stuff that I allegedly learned is still out there somewhere, just not entirely in my head.
Yeah. Oh wow, that was a lot to go through in college, and while you're trying to accomplish your dreams and go to the next level and get your degree. But what helped you get through those challenges?
My mom helped a lot, ironically. I had a really good support system at CMU. My professors were, especially the music professors, they were really supportive. They rescheduled lessons. My horn professor, Bruce Vinall, he was like a supplemental father because I had horn lessons with him. So there's an hour every week that was just one-on-one with me and him. Yeah. And it was supposed to be about horn, but other times it wasn't. And the marching band director, Dr. Jim Batchelor, he actually set me up. I don't even know what he did, but there's like some process you can go through when something like that happens. There's like, you contact someone at the university and you're excused for like a week, some sort of time off, and I don't even know what it's called because he just took care of it for me. So like my professors knew, like to this day, I don't know if I had a kid and was going through that, I wouldn't know where to go because everybody did it for me, which is really thoughtful of them.
Yeah.
I'd probably know how to find out about it, but they just took care of it, and they're like, you go home, take it, be with your family, and come back when you're ready, and we got everything for you here.
You ain't have to worry about that. That's good. So being a band director, what do you wish you would have knew before you became a band director?
That's a lot to but one of the things I wish I would have known, I actually wish I would have practiced and like kind of diversified my instruments a little bit more. Like I focused on horn because I thought I was gonna perform on that, but I almost wish I would have stuck with piano a little bit more, because that comes in handy a lot. Doing some different styles come in handy a lot, and piano's a versatile instrument. You can play all styles with it, and I can't play all styles on piano with it. So if I would have stuck with it and practiced it like I did some other stuff, I could have. Because as a band director, you need to, you're almost expected to be an expert on more musical styles than is, I guess, possible. But it would have given me a better chance, because I'm not a jazzer. It would come in really handy. I got some students now, and have had some students that have been really successful in jazz. But being a French horn player, that's not something that I do or have experience in. So it would have been good to just diversify some of my performings before becoming a band director.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk a little about a student, their story that you find inspiring. Anybody come to mind? You don't have to say any names or anything, but anybody comes to mind?
Yeah, actually, I'm assuming you have a lot of local listeners. His name, I'll give his name because he's still playing. His name's Lafayette Gunter II, or Jr.
Okay.
He is a saxophone player in Grand Rapids now. He plays brunch at Crescent Brewery most Sundays. He plays around other places. He's been at the Noir restaurant in downtown before. He has his own jazz group called the Jazz Police. You find him on YouTube. He's a good kid. I do remember I had him as a freshman, and he kept messing. He was messing up one note on this lick, and it wasn't that hard. It was kind of a challenge, but he got real mad at me because I'm like, dude, it's an F sharp, not an F natural. Just move this finger to here. Just move this finger on this one. You got it. And then he just got mad at me because he's a freshman, and I was pushing him, and he's like, blah blah blah. Why are you getting mad at me for this one note, and all these other kids can't play any of them? I was like, well, I know you're gonna get that one note. These other kids will take more time, but they'll get it. So he didn't like that answer. He chucked a mouthpiece at my head, stormed out.
Oh wow!
Just had a meltdown. Just had a meltdown. You've seen that school. There's they have a meltdown, so they'll go like storming down the hallways and whatnot. And I had to have a meeting with him and his parents, and the school's like, he doesn't have to be in your class anymore. Like, it's pretty serious. Like, no, he's a good player. So we had that meeting. I learned some things from his parents about him, about how he hears things or how he learns. So I taught him differently. He's never had that problem again. He's a killer sax player, and he's 23, class of 2017, and he's still playing around Grand Rapids.
Wow.